because the way you talk to yourself, it dictates everything in your life. If you're talking to yourself like you're stupid, you're irresponsible, you like, why couldn't you be more detail oriented? Like when you beat yourself up, it changes your self-worth. It changes how you feel about yourself. It changes the way you view yourself. Welcome to the Mindset, Magic, and Manifestation podcast hosted by me, Michaela J. Get ready to dive into an action-packed, bougie-based, and spiritually guided experience on all things manifesting your next level Lux life. Let's go. Hey, gorgeous. Welcome back to the Mindset, Magic, and Manifestation podcast with your girl. It is I, the Michaela J, here to teach you how to manifest your next level Lux life. Happy Monday. I am so excited to record this episode today because I'm telling you the tea about my trip to Turks and Caicos. Okay. And this isn't going to be like some boring recap of my trip. I'm telling you an epic manifestation story about how I got to stay at the Ritz Carlton, literally against all odds and all price tags. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the ins and outs of how I manifested this and how I really went from mourning to moving to manifesting. I'll tell you all about it in a minute, and I am so excited to dive in. Before we get started, I have something brand new for you to get straight to your email inbox. And this is a 3-day audio series experience called the Instant Manifestation Reset. Ooh, like how juicy. It's literally the ins and outs of how to rewire your mind for easier and faster manifestations. This is a 3-day experience. So when you sign up, you get day 1, the next day you get day 2, and the day after that you get day 3. And you literally get basically a private podcast episode dropped straight into your email that day. Now, day 1 is all about why you've been manifesting inconsistently. Day 2 is the science behind why manifestation works and how to get your energy behind it. And day 3 is all about how to collapse time and make your success inevitable. Obviously, those 3 days are the perfect combo for an instant manifestation reset. Okay. And I am so excited to be offering this. It's the perfect manifestation boost as we're going into spring, and you guys will get it for free for a limited time. All you need to do is put in your name and email. The link's going to be in the show notes, and you'll literally get day 1 sent to you today, instantly, instant manifesting, instant access, instant shifting, instant all the things. Okay. So make sure you get your hands on that. I am literally so excited for you to get to tune in to kind of these bonus episodes. Okay. Now let's get into it. I'm so excited to tell you this story. If you didn't know, my lifelong dream was to visit Turks and Caicos. Okay. I am a ride or die Drake fan. If you didn't know this, I have a Drake tattoo. It says, "What a time to be alive," which I coincidentally, even though I don't believe in coincidences, got right before COVID broke out. And then everyone's like, wow, what a time we live in. And I'm like, ooh, I just got this tattoo. It says, "What a time to be alive." So I'm obsessed with Drake. I always have been. I always will be. I love his music. I love OVO, so many things. Okay. And he's always in fucking Turks and Caicos. I feel like I grew up seeing this man plastered to a jet ski on turquoise blue water, sipping a little drink, probably with some passion fruit, blasting a song. Okay. Sunglasses on, tan activated. And I was like, I want that vibe in my life. It just seemed bougie. It looked beautiful. It felt like the vibe. When I tell you, I have been dreaming about this my entire life. I have had multiple dreams, actual in my sleep dreams about going to Turks and Caicos and having this dream, a Drake vacation, basically. So finally, this was the year that I was making it happen and we were going to Turks and Caicos. So it was me, my husband, and my mom met us there, and her husband came along as well. And my dream my whole life was not only to go to Turks and have a Drake vacation, but to also stay at the Ritz Carlton there. I remember seeing him tag the Ritz Carlton forever and ever and ever ago. And I was like, holy shit, that property is insane. And that's quite literally what sparked my obsession with the Ritz Carlton, which I am a ride or die Ritz Carlton girly. Okay. I'm obsessed with their properties, the service, everything. So it was so important to me to stay at the Ritz Carlton. And my dream was to stay there the first time I was in Turks and Caicos. Like that was the vision that I had been playing with my entire life. Like my friends know that. My mom knew that. I literally did my very best to convince my mom to have her wedding there. And then they did it in Vegas, but like, whatever, it's fine. It was still a fun time, but Turks and Caicos would have been better, mom, just saying. And so when we went, I was like, okay, we got to go all out. We got to make this a thing. I have to stay at the Ritz Carlton. Cue in our manifestation story. I look up the Ritz Carlton to see if we can stay. I'm not kidding you. It's $2,500 a night there, which is crazy. Obviously, like very luxury pricing. I have stayed in Ritz Carltons all over the world, and this is by far the most expensive one I have ever seen. It's comparable prices to the one in Paris, which I haven't stayed at yet. Keyword yet. But it's the most expensive one that I have seen. And so instantly I was like, ooh, okay. Not what I was planning. And I am like a world traveler. That's like my thing. I can get a travel deal. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use all of my tricks in the book to find the perfect deal for the Ritz Carlton. I'm like, because I don't really want to pay $2,500 to stay, but I definitely want to stay. And for me, it was like, if push comes to shove, I'll pay for it. Right. But I didn't really want to, you know what I mean? Okay. So I go and I'm looking into everything. I cannot for the life of me find a better deal for the Ritz. Every website, even with my Expedia points, like every trick in the book, like still $2,500. And so then I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to have to pay for this. And that's just going to have to be that. Well, then we're looking at the trip. We flew in on Valentine's Day. I was like, let's stay the first night we get there and we'll just stay one night and then we'll get an Airbnb. Perfect, easy, cute. Then we can cook at the Airbnb and it'll be great. I'll have a private pool, whatever. And then I go to book and it was Valentine's Day. So it was fully booked up. So I was like, damn, all right, well, like, let me book in for the last night. Like we'll fly in, we'll stay in an Airbnb. And then we were leaving on Tuesday. So I was like, Monday to Tuesday, we'll stay fully booked. And I was like, shit. Okay. So then I'm looking and I'm like, okay, well, what if I work this with points? The Ritz Carlton is a Marriott property. So I'm like, what if I use some of my Marriott points and we book that way? So I look it up and you could book it every single day of the trip with points. And I was like, yes, I have hit the gold mine. I'm a fucking genius mastermind, godsend. I'm doing magic. Like this is the manifestation. And I look up how many points it was going to be to compare the price because I would need to buy more. So with how many points I would have to buy, it was going to be like $1,800 for the night. And I was like, you know what? $500 off or whatever, or not $500, $800 off. I'll take it. Like sounds good to me. Right. And so then I tell my mom, this is what we're going to kind of do, blah, 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 blah. The next day she responds and I'm like, okay, let's book this. Let's go ahead. And I log on to Marriott and the points deals are gone for every single night of the fucking trip. Okay. The moral of this story, or the theme of this story that you're going to see, is that the manifestation was like up and it's down and it's up and it's down. And then it was really down and then it was up, like crazy emotional roller coaster, and really learning to maintain my cool while this manifestation's tossing me around like a fucking bingo ball was the lesson that I was learning. So then the points go away and I'm like, shit. So then I'm looking at prices. And now the only day that you could book was Saturday night for $2,300. And I'm thinking that's so inconvenient because we'd fly in on Friday, have to stay somewhere Friday, move to the Ritz on Saturday, and then move somewhere else on Sunday because it was literally the only day with availability where you could pay. And I told my mom that, and I was like, I don't think this is going to work. It's just so inconvenient, whatever. And then my mom says, well, how about we get the Airbnb the whole time? And Saturday night, you and Austin go stay at the Ritz and we'll just stay back at the Airbnb and we'll pay for the whole night of the Airbnb while you're paying for your whole night over there. And I instantly started bawling my eyes out. Okay. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is my dream come true. Like I didn't want to make the trip inconvenient for everybody. I didn't want to make it inconvenient for myself. Like, you know, and so I start bawling my eyes out because now the dream is becoming very real. And I'm like, I'm just going to pay the price. Like I literally don't care. Like I want this so bad. And then I go and I check to book and I'm like, let me look one more time for points. And you already know the points magically came back. Okay. I'm on Marriott. I'm like screaming. I'm like dropping my phone. I'm like, oh my God, the points are back. The points are back. So quickly, I bought points. And not only was the offer available by points, now when you bought points through Marriott, they had a bonus system. So I didn't even have to spend as much money because I spent X amount on points and I got like 20% bonus points back. And I'm like, hell yes. And there was a little calculator on the website. I would pick the tier, it would tell me how many points I had for the ones I was buying, the bonus ones plus what I already had. Okay. And so I buy the points and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm so fucking excited. But the thing with Marriott is it takes 24 hours. In my case, it took 28 hours to load the points. So then you're playing a real trust game with the universe because I'm like, these points and being able to book through the points has been up and down and up and down and up and down. So I wait the whole day and the points load and I check my account and there's not enough points. And I'm like literally about to bash my head into the wall. And I'm like, oh my God, this system that calculated my points calculated it incorrectly and I didn't double check. So the first thing I want to do in my mind, and this is a really great mindset takeaway for you, the first thing I do in my head is like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I should have double checked. Like this means so much to me. How could I be so careless? And then I went, wait a damn minute. This is not how we talk to ourselves. This is not how the wealthiest version of you handles this situation. This is not how the next level version of you handles this. You are reacting and not responding to what is going on. Okay. And I just snapped my ass right back out of it because when something happens that's an accident or a mistake or something you like oversee, beating yourself up does not solve the problem. And beating yourself up, making yourself feel bad, talking down to yourself does not have to be a part of the process. And this is something that I learned so deeply in 2024, last year, that beating myself up is no longer a part of my process. It's no longer a reaction I have. It's no longer a part of my vocabulary. And so there will be moments where I kind of fall back into those old patterns, but as soon as it comes up, I catch it because I'm like, ooh, that didn't feel good. Ew, what are we doing here? Like, this is not how we're going to treat ourselves. Because the way you talk to yourself, it dictates everything in your life. If you're talking to yourself like you're stupid, you're irresponsible, you like, why couldn't you be more detail oriented? Blah, blah. Like when you beat yourself up, it changes your self-worth. It changes how you feel about yourself. It changes the way you view yourself. And the way you view yourself and like how much you value yourself is a direct correlation to the value of the manifestations you're calling in. Okay. Because if you are talking down of like, you're stupid, you do this wrong, you do that wrong, right? Well, then why would the manifestations drop in if you're just going to continue to beat yourself up around the manifestations? So I caught myself in the act, snapped my ass out of it, and then went into action taking mode and I bought more points. I'm like, okay, how many points do I need? Let me do all of the math myself. And you know what? Tomorrow it's going to be there. Tomorrow the offer is going to be there. I'm going to be able to book with points and it's going to be totally fine, right? So I buy the points. All of this is so much easier said than done. So the next day I'm like checking my email over and over and over again, like a crazy person who's like looking for their manifestation left and right, you know? And I'm like, okay, Michaela, we've got to cut this shit out because this is desperate energy. You're clinging on to it way too closely. You need to be more confident. And then in my head is spiraling of like, oh my God, what the points aren't there, right? Because I had this dream my whole life for something. And I was holding on to that dream so closely that every single part of the process felt like life or death. And that's where we fuck up our manifestations. I truly feel like that's why I accidentally got the wrong amount of points. It's because I was like so clung to it, so attached to this vision that I wasn't even thinking clearly. It blurs your vision. It's kind of like this, it's like a scarcity lack mindset of like, oh, I want it so bad. I need it. I need this to work out. It's like, let's go. We got to do this quickly. That you're not thoughtful. You're not intentional. You're not as confident, certain, You don't have the same attention to detail, right? This is why it's so important for us to be in the positive what if energy and positive expectation of like, oh my gosh, like what if we got to stay? And what if the perfect price came up? And what if we got to book it with points? And what if we got an upgrade? And what if it was so easy? And what if we got early check-in and late checkout? And like, what if? When you're in that energy, you are an energetic match for things working out. And in that moment, I was way too fucking clingy, let me tell you, okay? And this is why I get to teach this, because I go through these waves of emotions and then I get to sit down and podcast about it and tell you how to do this better, right? So I buy the points. I wait the next day and I'm like, we got to snap out of this. We got to be confident. Like it's going to happen. We've gotten this far. The points loaded. Obviously the points were available. I booked the stay with my points. I think in total, I ended up spending for one night, $1,300. So a pretty good manifestation, $1,200 off or so. And we got to stay at the Ritz Carlton. We got there, we got to check in early. We got an upgrade to an ocean view room because we had just like booked like whatever room was available with points, but they upgraded us to a higher floor, a better view, a better balcony, full ocean view. We got a late checkout. It was so amazing. Like we just had the best time. The sand was soft. The service was great. Food was amazing. They serve you like a welcome drink in a like real glass when you walk in, just like so next level. Me and Austin worked out in the gym in the morning, which was super bougie. Of course, they had scented cold towels. They had a coffee shop next door, and I got like a little Ritz Carlton Turks and Caicos coffee cup to bring home. Like the vibe was just perfect once we were there. Okay. But one thing that I really wanted to talk about from this experience is this emotional roller coaster I went on from like mourning to moving to manifested. And what I mean by that is when I saw that the only night available was to pay for Saturday night, and I thought about like, oh, we're going to have to move into one place on Friday, one place on Saturday, one place on Sunday. And I was like, that's just way too inconvenient. I'm not going to make everybody do that. It's not going to work out. Austin and I were sitting down in the Bahamas and he was like, you know, babe, like we're going to have to go back. Like when we were looking at that, he's like, we're going to have to go back to stay at the Ritz. Like it's going to happen. You're going to stay there. You're going to get that manifestation, but we're going to have to go back because like the logistics, they just weren't adding up. And I sat there and I was like, yeah, I was like, it just doesn't feel like it's aligning this time around. We're going to have to go back. You're right. And I sat there and he was like, I don't want you to be sad, you know, like being a comforting husband. And I told him, I was like, well, I am sad. I'm actually mourning because my dream my whole life was to go and to stay at the Ritz Carlton the first time I went. That was the whole vision. And if we go and I don't stay at the Ritz, I'm never going to have that dream because it won't be the first time. It'll be the second time we go and we stay at the Ritz, which would still have been amazing, but it's not what I had been manifesting my whole life. And you know, I'm the kind of girl who doesn't fucking settle. And so I'm like, I was mourning it truly. And when my mom was like, why don't you guys just pay? And why don't you guys just go and we'll stay at the Airbnb and you guys can just take a bag and you can keep your suitcases here, whatever. That's why I like bawled my eyes out because, you know, 72 hours prior, I was sitting in the Bahamas eating a fucking breakfast, mourning that my lifelong dream was literally going to die, to then making the moves, right? I was literally in a state of mourning. I'm not kidding you guys. And then I was making these moves of like, let me see one more time. And then I manifested exactly what I wanted. And we had the most perfect, amazing experience. On the Saturday night when we were staying, we ended up ordering room service. And I literally custom ordered a vegan meal. Like it was just every single thing was so perfect and everybody was so attentive and it was everything that I wanted and more. But the story and the lesson that I really want to leave with you with this is that you can go from mourning something and thinking it's not going to happen to completely manifesting it and it being beyond what you even imagined. Because we ended up staying, had the most perfect time. We actually went to the Ritz. The check-in's like 3 or 4 o'clock. We like showed up at noon because I just wanted to be there, you know? And then we didn't leave until like 3 p.m. the next day. Like we had the full experience and had so much time there. It was amazing. Like you can go from mourning and thinking something's not going to happen to having an experience that actually over delivers. And one thing that I want you to be thinking about this week is, where are you giving up 2 steps away from the finish line? Because I almost gave up 2 steps away from the finish line, but I was like, let me work this angle. Let me check this. Let me see if I can do that. And I was also like, let me be open and honest about every detail. I had told my mom in our messages, like, okay, the only night is Friday. It's X amount of money. I know it's a lot, but it's my dream. And then I know it's super inconvenient because we're going to have to go here, 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 and here. Like, what are your thoughts? And just the willingness to be open and be vulnerable and be like, hey, this is my fucking dream. I know it's inconvenient, but what do you think? That gives people the opportunity to help you manifest the things that you want. It gives people the opportunity to create the space for you to do what it is that you want to do. But oftentimes we are being overly considerate, or we don't even want to put the offer out because we don't want the rejection, right? If I had that fear of rejection, of being like, hey, what do you think about this? And I was scared she would say no, or say that that was too inconvenient, or, whatever the fear was. And I just never said anything at all. And I just said, I don't think it's going to happen. We're going to stay at the Airbnb. I would have never gotten that opportunity. So don't quit 2 steps away from the finish line. If there's something that you want, don't settle. Don't fucking settle. If there's a will, there's always a way. And the only way you're going to get to that finish line of manifested, from mourning to moving to manifested, is by regulating your emotions that you're feeling in the process. Because again, I felt so up and down and up and down. Every time I felt down, I brought myself back to a neutral place. It can feel really challenging to be in a low vibration and immediately jump to love or to gratitude or excitement, right? But it's easier to go from a low vibration to neutral. And so that's all I expected of myself in this situation. It was like, okay, I'm feeling down. I'm talking poorly to myself. Let me just feel neutral. Let me look at the points thing as like, oh, I made a mistake. Okay, let's fix the mistake. There doesn't have to be that emotional investment, right? There's so many ups and downs of like, oh my God, my dream's not going to happen and that's going to go to die. And it's like, why can't we just neutralize it and not be so dramatic, Michaela, and just be like, you know what? I'm going to stay at the Ritz Carlton, and maybe I'm a little bummed because it's not this trip, but it's going to happen. And hold it. I would have saved so much energy. And luckily that wasn't the case. And we ended up getting to stay. But again, the more you can regulate your emotions, you can regulate the conversation going on in your head and regulate how you're speaking to yourself in the process, especially when it feels like it's not going to happen, the closer you are going to get to receiving exactly what you want. It's just, we talk ourselves out of the manifestation by beating ourselves up, by going worst case scenario. It's not going to happen. I'm so stupid. I should have done this. I should have done that, right? That's not going to bring you results. Betting on yourself, believing in yourself, refusing to settle, the willingness to be open, the willingness to receive help, the willingness to communicate, right? The willingness to bring yourself to that neutral place. All of that matters so much. If I had not shifted my emotions back to that neutral state, I don't think we would have ended up staying. Because if I had just kept talking to myself poorly, then I wouldn't have looked again, because I would have felt so stupid. I would have made myself feel even worse. That's like, well, why would I even look now? I'm probably going to make another mistake, So we wouldn't have stayed. If I kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper, the manifestation wasn't going to come in, because it's also not a vibrational match for the manifestation. Okay. And when I talk about a vibrational match, that's kind of some of the science behind manifesting, which is what I'm talking about in day 2 of the audio series, the Instant Manifestation Reset, that I told you guys about. The 3 audios are super inspired by some of the lessons I learned on my trip. Okay. So make sure you snag that. All right. I hope that this episode and hearing my wild up and down story about the Ritz Carlton has inspired you and taught you some lessons of really not beating yourself up, reminding yourself that doesn't have to be a part of the process, that when you're being too clingy, you oversee details and you're a little bit too attached. And so then you're acting out of more scarcity, and that's not going to give you the result that you want. and to continue to believe in your manifestation, even when it feels like it's not going to happen. Because if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to put your feelings on the line, 9.5 times out of 10, you're going to get exactly what you wanted, because you refused to settle and you set that standard and you decided what you were going to create and you went after it. Okay. I cannot wait to see you on Wednesday for our next episode. Don't forget to download the Instant Manifestation Reset. The link is in the show notes for you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to leave a 5-star rate and review. I love hearing your takeaways and wins from the podcast in the review section, so don't forget. Love you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.